In 2026, the ultimate flex for a billionaire isn't a private jet that gets them to Aspen in 2 hours.
Right. Definitely not anymore.
It's actually a $10,000 train ticket that takes like 3 days to do the exact same thing.
Which is pretty wild when you think about it.
It really is. So welcome to this deep dive. If someone asked you a decade ago what travel would look like today, you probably pictured, I don't know, supersonic jets or like commercial space flights.
Or at least some kind of frictionless teleportation tube, right?
Yeah, exactly. The teleportation
Oh.
tubes we were all promised.
Yeah.
But looking at the cultural and economic landscape right now, we are witnessing a complete recalibration.
Yeah, absolutely.
2026 is unequivocally the year of the train.
It's a really profound pivot in consumer psychology. I mean, we're analyzing a mode of transport that a lot of economists and cultural critics had totally written off as this inefficient relic.
Right.
Yet here we are, and it has become the defining status symbol and, frankly, the main logistical problem solver of modern tourism.
Yeah, and to really understand the mechanics of this shift, we're pulling data today from Global Horizons, the 2026 Premier Rail Travel Guide.
It's a fantastic resource.
It is. And our goal today isn't to like sell you a vacation package. We really want to extract the underlying trends, the logistical engineering behind these new global routes, and what this resurgence actually says about how we value our time.
Exactly, because modern rail travel has stopped being just a utility for getting from point A to point B.
Right. It has evolved into this immersive standalone destination. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, the central thesis of the Global Horizons Guide is that this whole resurgence is entirely driven by an unprecedented expansion in high-end experiential journeys. It's really a synchronized overhaul of travel infrastructure that spans the US, Europe, Africa, Asia, everywhere.
Wow.
People are completely changing the geometry of their travel plans, prioritizing the surface over the sky.
And the data point that highlights this best is happening domestically, like right here in the United States.
Yes, the domestic market is booming.
We are seeing this massive surge of ultra-exclusive private rail experiences that mimic basically terrestrial five-star hotels.
Right.
Let's look at the launch of Halloway private rail cars, which just happened in January of 2026.
Right, the Halloway launch was huge.
They rolled out these meticulously restored sleeper cars. Specifically, they're called the Evelyn Henry and the Warren R. Henry. And here's the technical part that actually confused me at first.
Oh,
They don't have their own locomotives. The guide says they operate by hooking onto existing Amtrak routes between like Los Angeles and San Francisco, or San Francisco and Denver.
yeah.
How does that physically work without completely disrupting the national commercial grid?
It is a totally fascinating logistical workaround, actually. So private railcar operators pay a specific, highly regulated tariff to Amtrak.
Okay.
And in exchange for that, rail yard engineers physically couple the Halloway car to the very rear of a scheduled commercial passenger train.
Wait, really? So you're essentially just hitching a ride on the national rail grid?
Exactly. The commercial train provides all the pulling power, and Amtrak handles all the signaling and the dispatch logistics.
That is wild.
But once you step through that rear vestibule into the Halloway car, you enter a completely isolated microenvironment.
So the people in coach are just like pulling along a rolling palace in their wake.
Pretty much.
And the level of service in that bubble is intense. I mean, the guide details exclusive use for up to 6 people. You get a completely private suite and a dedicated chef preparing meals in this bespoke galley kitchen.
It's pure luxury.
But looking at the pricing, fares exceed $10,000 depending on the route. I have to push back here.
Sure.
Isn't this just, well, a romanticization of inefficiency? I mean, why not charter a flight, get from San Francisco to Denver in 2 hours, and spend those extra 3 days actually hiking in the Rockies rather than just, looking at them through a window?
What's fascinating here is the paradigm shift in how high net worth individuals are defining luxury right now.
Okay, how so?
For decades, the ultimate luxury was velocity. A private jet bypassed the friction of the airport and compressed time. But we've reached a cultural saturation point with optimization.
Oh, I see.
Time is the new luxury.
Time to be, like, deliberately unproductive.
Precisely. These travelers live in a hyper-optimized, constantly connected state. They're pivoting to private trains because they are actively seeking restriction.
That's an interesting word, restriction.
Yeah, when you are on a train, you are tethered to the rails. You can't speed up, you can't pivot, and you are literally forced to sit still. You are paying 10 grand for a multi-day moving sanctuary where you eat Michelin-level meals and watch the topography shift at a human scale.
Wow.
The slowness is the feature.
Yeah.
You are basically buying a mandate to disconnect.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And, oh, I should mention Rocky Mountaineers doing this too, right?
Yeah.
With their new Canyon Spirit service.
Yes, the Canyon Spirit.
It used to be called Rockies to the Red Rocks, but they launched this elevated luxury brand traveling through the American Southwest between Denver and Salt Lake City.
It's a gorgeous route.
Yeah, so if the ultra-wealthy are paying 10 grand just to avoid the modern friction of airports and highways, it makes sense that the rail industry is applying that same kind of frictionless model to everyday tourism too.
Absolutely, it's trickling down.
Which brings us to the second major theme of the 2026 guide: solving the logistical nightmare of our national parks.
Oh, the national park system has become a massive victim of its own success.
It really has.
The sheer volume of visitors has turned nature into, like, a literal stress test.
Seriously, navigating a major national park today is like trying to get tickets to a Taylor Swift concert.
That is completely accurate.
You are fighting online algorithms for these timed entry tickets 6 months in advance. You're circling crowded trailheads looking for a parking spot, and you're just staring at the bumper of a minivan instead of the mountains.
Right, which completely defeats the purpose of going to nature.
Exactly. But rail operators are stepping in as a bypass to that entire back-end system. The guide outlines these 6 to 7 day trips to Glacier National Park using the Empire Builder train. It drops you off directly at the park, and the package secures your stay in the historic inside the park lodges. You completely skip the rental car line and the entrance gates.
It's a brilliant utilization of existing historical infrastructure.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these parks, like Glacier and the Grand Canyon, they were originally developed in tandem with the railroads back in the early 20th century.
Oh, right, of course.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Grand Canyon, Amtrak Vacations is running these 4 to 6 day getaways now. You take an overnight journey from Chicago or Los Angeles and wake up right at the South Rim.
Which is incredible.
And operators are, like, hyper-targeting their demographics to remove very specific friction points. Road Scholar has designed Grand Canyon trips, tailored specifically for grandparents traveling with their grandchildren.
That's so smart.
And Village Travel launched a specialized Grand Canyon and rail tour in April 2026. Then you have Rocky Mountaineer running their new Canadian route through Banff and Jasper in June and July of 2026.
The expansion is everywhere.
Yeah, Intrepid Travel is even taking this model up to the Arctic-Ofaten Railway in Norway and Sweden for, like, really deep wilderness access. So what does this all mean?
Well,
Does this signal the death of the classic, chaotic family road trip?
I wouldn't declare the road trip totally dead, but we are definitely witnessing the rise of a new phenomenon, which is the curation of the wilderness.
The curation of the wilderness. I like that.
Yeah, the modern traveler has realized that driving through nature often means managing nature.
Right, the logistics, the navigation.
Exactly. Rail travel strips away that management aspect, offering the landscape as just a seamless, continuous exhibition. By taking the train, you, as the traveler, offload the cognitive burden of logistics onto the operator.
You create the steering wheel for a panoramic window.
Perfectly said. It allows for a pure, unmediated engagement with the geography.
Okay, so we've examined the American West and this top luxury tier, but the Global Horizons Guide demonstrates that the international market is scaling up aggressively too.
Oh, massively.
Even on an everyday domestic level, the grid is expanding. Amtrak introduced the Borealis route connecting Chicago to St. Paul, and the Floridian stretching from Chicago all the way down to Miami.
Both very popular already.
And Amtrak Vacations is seeing huge demand for their 7-day California Zephyr trip from Chicago to San Francisco. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
The guide details a 60-day around-the-world by luxury train tour.
Yes.
60 days, 9 countries, 11 different luxury rail routes hitting iconic cities from Paris to Venice.
It's an absolute behemoth of a trip.
Logistically, how does a global train trip even function? I mean, you can't just lay one track across the ocean.
Right, and that is the engineering marvel of these mega trips. You are not staying on one physical train for 60 days.
Okay, that makes more sense.
The operators act as, like, conductors of a massive logistical symphony. They charter segments on the world's most famous trains, like the Venice Simplon Orient Express or the Maharajas Express in India, and they seamlessly stitch them together for the passenger.
So what happens at the borders? Do you have to drag your luggage through customs every few days?
No, and that is exactly what you are paying for. These operators manage all the friction of international travel.
Wow.
Yeah, when the track gauge, which is the physical width of the rails, when that changes at a border or when crossing an ocean is required, the operator handles the transit.
Oh, that's amazing.
Your luggage is transferred behind the scenes while you enjoy a curated layover in a 5-star hotel or take a chartered flight to the next railhead. It's 11 different luxury trains engineered to feel like one continuous 60-day voyage.
And some of those segments are essentially rolling safaris, right?
They are.
The guide highlights South Africa's Blue Train, which offers an 11-day rail and Kruger National Park safari combination in October and November 2026. And Intrepid Travel is running a safari-style journey on the Madaraka Express in Kenya. But wait, how do you run a massive diesel-electric locomotive through a wildlife reserve without terrified animals just scattering for miles?
It requires deep, deep collaboration with local conservation authorities.
I would assume so.
These specific routes are designed with wildlife corridors in mind. The trains operate at highly regulated crawling speeds during prime viewing hours to minimize the acoustic disturbance.
Okay, that makes sense.
Furthermore, a train car offers a significantly higher vantage point than a standard 4x4 Jeep.
Oh, true.
Yeah, so it allows passengers to view the canopy and the plains without physically encroaching on the animal's immediate habitat.
That is so cool. And the brand partnerships are really elevating this whole space, too. National Geographic is running a premium 11-day expedition called Rajasthan by Rail in India.
A stunning itinerary.
It starts around $13,995 and utilizes India's vast rail network to basically bypass the chaotic surface traffic of the cities, delivering this highly insulated cultural immersion.
Right.
And down in the Southern Hemisphere, there's a revamped 17-day New Zealand up-close itinerary that integrates 3 separate rail journeys with private cruises and VIP wildlife tours.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what we're observing is the globalization of rail infrastructure as a unified premium product.
Yeah, it really feels unified.
European classics have been doing this for years, of course, like Vacations by Rail's extensive Scotland tours or the 8-day Swiss Splendors by Train exploring Zurich, Zermatt, and the Engadine Valley.
Classic routes.
Exactly. But now, operators are linking these continental masterpieces. They are transforming what used to be fragmented transit networks into accessible global panoramas.
The visions here are just grand. I mean, 60-day global circumnavigations and $13,000 Himalayan expeditions. But let's transition to the practical reality of this market.
Good idea.
If you are listening right now and considering a rail journey, you need actionable intelligence on how these tiers operate and how to actually book them.
Pragmatism is essential here because a rapidly expanding market can easily overwhelm the consumer with too many choices.
Definitely. The guide strongly advocates for themed and seasonal tours as a strategic entry point.
Yes, I highly recommend those.
These are highly focused itineraries that don't require a 60-day commitment. For example, there's a 9-day New England in the Fall tour that threads through the White Mountains in Maine precisely during peak autumn foliage.
Beautiful time to go.
Or Village Travel offers a meticulously timed Washington, D.C. cherry blossoms tour. And Road Scholar utilizes China's cutting-edge high-speed rail network for an intensive educational tour, which really proves that rail travel doesn't always mean vintage, slow-steam nostalgia.
Exactly. Those focused itineraries offer a contained, predictable environment for travelers to really acclimate to the rhythm of rail travel before committing to a massive transcontinental journey.
But let's address the most crucial factor for most people. Pricing.
Let's do it.
We discussed the full private suite experiences on Halloway exceeding 10 grand. But the guide emphasizes that you do not need a massive trust fund to access the sleeper train ecosystem.
No, you really don't.
Independent luxury roomats actually start at a highly accessible $895. But wait, we should define a roomette. We're talking about a glorified closet here.
No, not at all. A roomette is actually a marvel of spatial engineering.
Okay.
It's a compact private sleeper cabin. During the day, it features 2 really comfortable facing seats with a large panoramic window.
Nice.
And at night, the attendant comes in and transforms the space, pulling down an upper berth and converting the seats into a lower bed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they feature heavy sliding doors for total privacy, climate control, and access to dedicated shower facilities right in the car. At $895, it's a highly competitive price point.
Especially considering it covers your transportation, your accommodation, and on most routes, your dining.
Exactly. It's an all-in-one package.
That makes it incredibly viable. And the guide points out several booking hacks to drive that cost down even further.
Yes, you have to be strategic.
They advise monitoring the operators for flash sales like, currently, some 2026 packages are offering up to $700 off.
Which is a huge saving.
Yeah. Furthermore, platforms like Amtrak Vacations offer extreme modularity. You aren't forced to fly to a major hub like Chicago or New York to start your trip. You can build custom round-trip itineraries departing from any of their 500-plus local stations across the country.
The localized flexibility of the network is definitely its most underutilized asset.
Yeah.
Yeah, and allows you to eliminate the initial flight entirely, keeping the journey strictly terrestrial straight from your hometown.
But, I have to ask the skeptical question here.
Of course.
With a price disparity, that wide $895 for an independent roomette versus $10,000 for a private car with a dedicated chef, do you still get that magic of train travel at the entry-level price point? Or are you acutely aware that you're in the budget tier while the billionaires drink champagne 3 cars down?
It's a completely valid concern, but the fundamental architecture of a train journey prevents that feeling of alienation.
How so?
The core value of the experience, the rhythmic motion, the ability to unplug, and the deep immersion in the shifting geography, all of that is democratized.
That's a great point.
Whether you are paying $10,000 or $895, the Rocky Mountains look exactly the same outside your window. The luxury of a landscape belongs to everyone on board.
The scenery doesn't discriminate based on your tax bracket. As we wrap up this deep dive into the 2026 Premier Rail Travel Guide, the sheer scope of this industrial and cultural shift is staggering. We have traced the spectrum from nearly $14,000 National Geographic expeditions in Rajasthan down to ingeniously engineered $895 roomettes.
It's a huge spectrum.
We analyzed the mechanics of the canyon spirit in the American Southwest and unpacked the intense logistical symphony required to pull off a 60-day, 9-country global voyage. The rail industry hasn't just survived. It has fundamentally redefined modern tourism.
It is a vibrant, rapidly evolving ecosystem. And with this vast array of options decoded, the decision really turns to you, the listener. Where does your curiosity pull you? Are you drawn to deeply exploring a specific biome, like the rugged American West or the alpine networks of Europe? Or are you weighing the highly orchestrated luxury of an escorted global tour against the quiet, unscripted freedom of an independent roomette?
It is a rare privilege to have so many distinct ways to view the world right now.
It is. And as you weigh those options, I want to leave you with one final underlying thought about the psychology of this entire movement.
Oh, please do.
We have detailed the routes, the roomettes, and the economics. But look at what this trend reveals about our current cultural moment. We exist in a society defined by hyperconnectivity, relentless speed, and the demand for instant gratification.
Always on the go.
Always. Yet the most coveted premium travel experience of 2026 requires deliberately slowing down. It requires restricting our movement to a single steel track, surrendering control of our route, and simply watching the world pass by.
Wow.
What does it say about us that the ultimate modern luxury is just the permission to finally sit still?
A fascinating question to ponder the next time you find yourself stuck in airport security. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the future of rail travel. We hope you found the insights you need to engineer your own 2026 escape. Until next time.